Okay, everyone. Um, this is weird. Welcome to the podcast. Something I'm hoping to do every week. This is weird because I tried to sign on, and you know, YouTube keeps on asking me verify it's you, and I did that literally like 3 minutes ago, and then they asked me again verify it's you, and then I did it again. Uh, so yeah, one thing that I want to do is I want to try to see if I can eventually get the stream a little bit better. So that's going to be something. But anyway, welcome to the podcast. My name is Dave. This is the Off Topic Podcast where I just talk about things that are not necessarily related to English. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Going to start off today with a little bit of English related stuff, but then get into what this video is about. And, these podcasts are mostly to help you with your listening skills and whatnot. So that's what these are going to be about, and I have some interesting topics that we'll talk about in the next few weeks. And this week, it is an interesting topic because I don't know how many of you have Netflix, but on Netflix they have uh, the John Gotti special. I think it's called Getting Gotti. I'm not sure, but anyway, um, yeah. So I have the Getting Gotti thing that I watched, and it was interesting. And I have my own Gotti family story, which we'll get into in a few minutes here because I just think it's um, an interesting story and maybe something that you can listen to as you're watching this or whatnot. So thank you all very much for being here today. So yeah, speaking of English, and I'm not going to get too much into English. I will say that so many of you might know a few weeks ago, I did a video about someone named AJ Hogue or Hodge or something like that. Now, I've done a lot of videos about lingua marina and others, some positive, some negative, some critical, some not, whatever. And for the most part, most of the people who are lingua marina, I guess you could say supporters, they take offense maybe to some of the things that I say, but at the end of the day, they don't really, there's not a lot of vitriol to it. There's not a lot of problems when it comes to many of the people who are the lingua marina fans. And for the most part, I would say that they're pretty tame, that uh, they're mad. They don't like what I say, but at the end of the day, they um, don't go off the deep end, right? They don't go ape shit. Which, by the way, if you're wondering about videos coming out, yes, I will be having videos come out, and they'll probably be coming out starting tomorrow. I'm going to do a few shorts. I'm going to do a few other videos, but eventually I'm just going to move the microphone closer to me. But they will be coming out. So don't worry. I will have more videos coming out in the near future. So be looking out for them because I have not been doing any videos because I just haven't wanted to do any videos. And this is what sometimes cracks me up about people talking about people like Lingua Marina and saying, "Oh, you're just jealous of her subscriber count." I I am a teacher, and YouTube is the vehicle that I use to advertise my teaching services and let people know about the English language or whatnot. If somebody told me tomorrow, "Hey, Dave, we'll give you 45 hours per week of lessons. You never have to go on YouTube ever again," I would do that. I would do it in a heartbeat. Like there'd be no question whatsoever. So I do this for that reason and to make sure that people are getting correct information, but I don't care about subscriber counts. And that kind of shows it right there that, like, if I had the chance to not be on YouTube and be able to spread the information about stuff, about what people say and how it's correct or how it's incorrect, I would do that regardless. So, but anyway, back to what I was talking about, which was the AJ. I assume it's AJ Hogue because Hodge is usually well, it could be Hodge. I don't know. I think it's AJ Hogue, but anyway, um, his people. Whoa. When I did my video about him, I opened up an entirely new can of fucking crazy. Okay, like a really big can of crazy. These people, and I even mentioned it after my first after that video, I just started noticing comments where people were just absolutely Jonestown, drink the Kool-Aid, obsessed with him. Like I'm getting these comments like, I have two periods in my life, one before AJ Hogg and the other one after. I'm like, get the fuck real, people. I mean, come on. No one's that obsessed with a fucking English teacher. And it was just so funny to see these people kind of, jump off a cliff for him, really jump off a cliff for him. And so I when I did this video about this AJ guy, I'll just call him AJ. When I did this video about him, I was just like, okay, we're gonna talk about AJ. We're gonna talk about what he does and everything like that, because a lot of his people defend what he does, but yet on most of his videos, you can't leave a comment. So to me, that kind of shows right there, if you're somebody who is talking about how great of an English teacher you are, well, for Christ's sakes, you should be able to leave a comment on that person's YouTube channel. And like on most of the videos, you cannot leave a comment. So I guess that says a lot about his integrity. But anyways, his people, holy fuck, man, these people are like insane. Now, when I make the video, I do it to inform people. I do it to try to give you guidance as to what is true, what's not true, what's bullshit, what's not bullshit. Right? I mean, that's my main goal. And his this AJ guy's whole shtick, or his whole thing, is like inspiration. Okay. Like if you have inspiration up the ass, then you can speak a language. That's not how language learning works. And as a matter of fact, I had thought about doing a video about this, but I just don't know how the AJ people would handle it. And the whole thing with confidence. So this might be something to think about when it comes to confidence when learning a language. There is this one guy, and I am, for a future podcast, going to probably get the Streamlabs thing so that I can share my screen and whatnot. I don't know. And I'm gonna look this up right now. Paris. Okay, wait. I hate iPads because they give you this small little keyboard, which you really can't see right here, and it's just like, I want the big keyboard. Is there a reason I can't get? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so okay. So I want to talk about this guy. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get um so this is the guy that I'm gonna do a video about. Now, if you've seen this picture of him right here, you might know what this guy is famous for. This guy is famous for having the jumping off the Eiffel Tower with a human parachute. Okay, what happened? Well, he just jumped and hit the ground and died. Okay, he had confidence. He had all the confidence in the world that he was going to jump off the middle stage of the Eiffel Tower, and he was just going to glide down onto the Champ de Mars, and he was going to live. Okay, he had all the confidence in the world, but you need more than confidence when it comes to like being right. So he had confidence, but he died. So all that confidence didn't do jack shit for him. That's another one I have to write down. So I am making a new video about the ways in which you can use the word shit. Okay, so jack shit is going to be on this list. So I am going to do that. Oh my God. Okay, wow. Anyway, so I am going to be doing a video about like shit, and so that will be coming out. So anyway, the thing with AJ is that his people. So I went off on a tangent there, I know, but anyways, the thing with AJ is that his people have gone so much to the extreme that it's kind of like weird. It's like really weird. Um, so for example, a few days ago, and if you don't know about this, a few days ago, I put a message on my community board talking about how I am doing a book club. Okay. And this book club, the whole idea is that every month we'll read a book, and then I'm going to have a Zoom call where I talk about the book with some other people and then answer questions about some of the English that you encounter in that book, whether it be certain grammatical structures or something like that. You'll notice the link in the description below. So if you're interested in joining the book club, just go to that link, sign up, and you'll be included in the emails for the book club and the Zoom link for it. So anyway, and so far with not really promoting it, I've already had a great response to this to the book club. So hopefully this will be something that we can continue going forward. But the reason why I bring that up, I mean, I wanted to bring it up anyway. The reason I bring that up is because I got an email within my book club forms, like every one of the emails in the book club forms that I have, or every one of the forms that I have filled out is about something with the book club, saying I'm interested in these books, I'm interested in those books, and whatever. Um, but I got one response, and it let me read this response that I got. And this is from a guy named John John. Now, John John, I looked up his IP address. He's been lurking on my website before he made this comment and sent me this message. And he's from Japan. Okay. So he says, "Are you trying to do what AJ Hodge does? Pathetic. Get on with your life, mate. This English tea or teaching, because it's broken up. This English teaching YouTube thing is dead. No money in it." And it was just weird that he goes just like the AJ, like his people are actually sending me messages on things regarding a book club. Like they're sending me messages on these book club things. That seriously, now that's kind of weird. And I've never had this level of craziness with the lingua marina people. Like never. They've been, they're misguided. They think that she doesn't make mistakes, and she makes mistakes all the time. They're misguided. But like these AJ people are like, if he told them to jump off a cliff, they'd fucking do it. These people are just kind of like nuts. Nuts. So, I don't know what it is with them, but I just wanted to bring that up because I just thought it was kind of hysterical as to what they were. Anyway, yeah, if you want to make any comments, go ahead and put in the thing in the comment area below. But I do want to get to the point of today's podcast. I just wanted to mention that thing about AJ, and then I want to get into this point about the podcast because I don't know how many of you have seen the John Gotti special on Netflix. And if you really want to learn about the Gambino crime family and other things like that, it's a really good series to watch. It's very informative. So, how do I play into all this? No, I am not a member of the Gambino crime family, just so you know. But anyway, back in the mid 2000s, I knew somebody who was incarcerated. They were, put in prison. And this person was brought to the Terre Haute, Indiana prison facility. And so at that time, I was allowed to go visit them with other people that I knew. We could go visit them. And I'll tell you, to visit the people, to just go see somebody in a federal prison, it's like it's a challenge sometimes. So what I would have to do is if I wanted to visit this person in a prison, I needed to get there first thing in the morning. So I think it was like 8 a.m. that you could do that. There were only a certain amount of prisoners that were allowed to be in the visiting area. And I think they only did it on Friday and Saturday. I don't remember. I don't remember the exact days, but you could only do it on a few days and you had to be there early. And there were times where they turned people away because they were literally like 3 minutes too late. Like they turned them away. But anyway, at the Terre Haute facility, you walk into the facility, you walk into this building, and when you go into that building, they almost treat you like you're a criminal almost. It's just weird how cold they are and stuff like that. Even though you're going to visit someone, they treat you that way. So what you had to do is you had to take off all your jacket, stuff like that, take off a hat or anything like that. You had to empty all of your pockets. You couldn't have anything in your pocket, including your wallet. You couldn't have your wallet at all when you went into the prison facility, not at all. So you had to take out, you had to take off your glasses, you had to take off your hat, you had to take off your coat, you had to empty your pockets and everything. And they would give you a key that you can go ahead and lock it in a locker. So you're able to lock it there. The only thing that you were allowed to bring in, and this is really interesting, were a roll of quarters. So quarters, the little coins that you put in the vending machine. So you can get a roll of quarters for $10. They were $10. So you could always bring in a roll of quarters. And the reason why this was that when you're visiting with people, there were vending machines inside the visiting facility that you can just go up and put coins in and then get something from the vending machine. So you could only go in with these quarters. That's all you could do. Okay. Um, so anyway, what would happen is you would go into this room, this first building, where they would process you and everything like that. You would you would tell them who you were there to see. And what they would do is they would get all the people who had visitors there and they would bring those prisoners to the facility where you could meet with them. Now, that was in another building. So that was in a totally different building. So you had to wait there while they brought all of the prisoners to the visiting facility. So anyway, once all the prisoners were there, they sat them and they spaced them apart. I think there might have been like at the most at one time maybe like 10 or 12 prisoners that were allowed in this facility. So you basically had 10 or 12 in there, but they were spaced out apart. So what would happen is you'd be in the front building and then they would lock like you go into this one room, they lock the door behind you, then you go outside the building, they lock that door, then you walk over to where the visitor center is, you go into the visitor center, they lock that door, they open another door, and then you actually go into the room where the visitor center is. You find the person that you're there to visit, and then you sit there and you can usually stay there for like hours. So I think it opened at 8 and it might have closed at like noon. And so you could stay there all 4 hours. And the only way that other people would have been able to visit their family if they weren't able to come in is if other people left beforehand. So a lot of people, there would be times where I'd be visiting the person I was there to see all day long, and then I'd leave and they would still be there waiting to go in. That they spent all 4 hours there and they just never had the opportunity, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So anyway, this was a medium security prison, a medium security federal prison. And so we walk into the prison. I was there with one other person this one time. We walk into the prison and we see the person that we're going to see. And they say to me, this is the first time I visited because I will have visited a number of times after that. So you can see there, I will have visited a number of times after that. I'm talking about the future in the past. So that's something you can learn as well. So, anyway, we get in there, and the person tells me that Peter Gotti, the brother of John Gotti, is at that facility. I'm like, oh, interesting. Now, Peter Gotti at that time, because John Gotti died, I think, in the early 2000s, maybe. Um, I'm not sure exactly when he died, but when John Gotti died, his brother, Peter Gotti, became the Gambino, or no, John Gotti's son became the Gambino crime family's godfather. And then once his son got incarcerated, then Peter Gotti became the godfather of the Gambino crime family. And he was it for a while. But I found out at this time that the person that I was there meeting with, they go, yeah, Peter Gotti is in this prison. The head of the Gambino crime family is in this prison. It's like, oh, wow, interesting. Now, he wasn't there that day or anything, but it was just, oh, wow, cool. Um, so I'd come back another time, and same process, same routine. You go to the one building, you give them all your stuff, you have your roll of quarters, you go in and everything. Uh, and then one of these, and I'm sure a few times had passed by already. I don't know, but as I go and I sit down, the person that I'm there with, that I'm visiting, says, "Yeah, behind you, that's Peter Gotti." And of course, you don't want to be like, "What? Who?" You don't want to be like that because obviously, one, it's the head of the Gambino crime family, and two, that's just really fucking obvious if you're gonna go ahead and turn around like that. So I knew he was behind me. Like it was like we were at one wall, like there's one wall here and then the other wall on the other side. He was visiting somebody on the that was sitting at the other wall. So and that wall was the wall that had the vending machines. And I said, well, I'm gonna go get a Coke or something just so that I could see um the head of the Gambino crime family. So I just go walk up and go to the machine, put it in, and there he is right there, Peter Gotti. I'm like, holy hell. Okay, here's the head of the Gambino crime family. Really interesting. And later that day, after I finished visiting the person and everything, I went back home, which I had to drive. I had to drive like 3.5 hours to get there because it's not close. So I get back home and I look up Peter Gotti on the uh, on online, and sure as shit, it's Peter Gotti. I mean, the guy that I saw is Peter Gotti. I'm like, holy fuck, that was Peter Gotti. Okay, sure as shit. That's another one I have to put on my list. Hold on. Sure as shit. So again, I'm like I said, I'm making a video about using the word shit in English. So a few weeks or months passed by. Now the person I knew was only in there for was incarcerated for a year, and they ended up spending less than a year at the Terre Haute facility. Another time I went, this would have been the last time that I went there. We go into the place, and the person we're going to see is sitting. It was like we almost were always sitting in the exact same spot, but we were sitting at that spot. And a few seats down from him was Peter Gotti. So like we were the next people next to Peter Gotti, the Gambino crime family boss. Um so anyway, um so I was there with another person. Okay. Now, this other person probably wouldn't want anything to do with any of these people. I mean, neither do I, right? But anyways, this other person goes to the bathroom, and the person I'm talking to says, "Hey, do you want to say hi to Peter Gotti?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And the person goes, "Hey, Peter, this is Dave." And I start talking to Peter Gotti. So here I am, just Dave, um, still working in politics at that time, not working in English, talking to the head of the Gambino crime family. And it was just like the most, and we're just having a regular conversation, just a regular conversation. It only happened for like a minute or two. It was just a small one. And then when the person came back, we started all talking again. But yeah, I mean, it was just absolutely surreal to actually speak to the head of this family, and that was nuts. And so I watch these videos about Gotti, and I watch the Netflix series and so on, and it's like, wow, I have some odd, weird connection to this. And it's not like some 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, who by the way will be featured in that video about shit about the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. If you don't know I don't know if it's 6 degrees or 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon. But if you want to know about American culture and all that, know what the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon are. And that's kind of, you'll fit in perfectly. But yeah, so that was my uh my encounter with the Gambino crime family. I never thought that I would ever have that opportunity. Uh, kind of for the person that I went to see, wish I didn't have that opportunity, but I did. And it was the nuttiest thing on earth. So if you put another G, I am gonna take you off. All right. Um, remove. Okay. Um, hide user from the channel. And okay, there we go. See, here's the thing about my channel. Okay. So like this person put in a bad word. Here's the thing about my channel. Um it's my kingdom, right? So people will make, bad remarks online or whatever. Here's the thing. I decide if you stay or go. And the funny thing about that um is that I'm not looking for some sort of validation. If I think you're being a dick, bye. See you later. I have fucking better things to do than deal with your bullshit. Right? So people like that, gone. I don't care. I just don't care. Um so yeah, so that was my encounter with the mob, with organized crime, and with the biggest crime family in the United States. And there are other stories that we can talk about um, in the future. I've been able to meet 5 U.S. presidents, though. What was weird is this encounter with Gotti was like the weirdest one, just because it's fucking Peter Gotti. It's the head of the Gambino crime family. I mean, holy shit. So yeah. Um, yeah, so let me go ahead and I see people talking about Marina and talking about POC, POS, and all that, and I can get into that. Well, I probably won't get into that. You know, I haven't done. I don't think that I have done a podcast since. I don't think that I have done a podcast since my video with POS English. And okay, just somewhat really quick. What is your favorite gangster movie? Easily Goodfellas. Easily Goodfellas. I was gonna say Casino, okay, but easily Goodfellas. That is like not even remotely close. To me, I think the Godfather movies are kind of boring. But I would have to say that, yeah, Goodfellas is definitely my favorite, like by far. And and this is actually kind of a good segue, I guess, into something else, which is that as an American, and maybe people from Britain and other people can understand it, the music that Martin Scorsese uses in that movie at the times that he uses it is perfect. Like he absolutely has the best music in there. So like there if you know if you've seen the movie Goodfellas, there's this one scene where Ray Liotta's character, Henry Hill was his name, is being chased by a helicopter, and the music sequence that that Scorsese has there, the George Harrison song, I think there's like a BB King song or something like that in there. Like the way in which it's orchestrated is unbelievable. And then the Cream song, the Eric Clapton song, when they show all of the people that have been whacked by Robert De Niro's uh character, or at least like his people, like that sequence of people, like the couple in the Cadillac and stuff, like the music is just masterful. So I love that movie. I love that movie. That is one that I have seen time and time and time again. Um I don't like The Godfather. To me, it's just kind of too cliche-ish. Kind of, whereas when you look at Goodfellas, it seems like how the mafia would have been. And it is what it would have been. It was done by Henry Hill. It was based off a book written by somebody in the mafia. Whereas all of the Godfather movies just seem like some sort of like story written by somebody who had no idea what it was like to be in the mafia. It seems like a story. And for me, like all these books that I have up here, if you ever notice one thing about me, I read nonfiction. I like things that are nonfiction and actual and real, right? Whereas I'm not a big fiction fan. The only fiction that I have read, really, I could say, to a certain extent, would be Tom Clancy novels. So Red Storm Rising, Hunt for Red October. So if anyone ever asks me, how did you end up in Murmansk? It has to do with the fact that I'm a big Tom Clancy fan, and the Northern Fleet of the Soviet Union, these types of movies like Hunt for Red October, it starts in Polyarny. It starts in Murmansk. So I always had and still have a fascination. I guess I can't say I have a fascination with Murmansk anymore because I have been to Murmansk. I lived there for 6 months. Um, but yeah, those are the only fiction books that I read, and they're still based on some sort of geopolitical, at that time, reality. But I can't read anything that's just like a pure fiction book. Like if you give me some sort of wizards and hocus pocus bullshit, I can't read that. I just can't read that. I'll just like I'll do myself in if I do read that. So like I've never seen a Harry Potter movie. I've never seen Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Sorcerer or whatever. I've never watched those. Never care to watch those. I'm not The only movies that I would say that I watch that are these pure fiction movies, and this has even changed over time, would be the Star Wars movies. Okay, movies from the 1980s. So I saw the original three, and then I saw the next three. Okay, so I saw episode, what would that have been? 4, 5, 6. Okay, and I just know it as Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I like those. Then I saw episode 1, which was fucking horrible. I didn't even go to see episode. I don't even know what episode 2 has in it because episode 1 was so bad. It was just CGI bullshit. It was just CGI, Jar Jar Binks moving like this. I mean, it didn't even look like even remotely real. So I never saw episode 2. I then saw episode 3, and I don't even know what the names of these are. I call them episode 1, 2, and 3 because I don't remember, because they're so insignificant to me. That After I saw episode 3, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna watch this one because it's supposed to make some sort of connection to Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi." I watch it and I'm like, "This thing sucks too." Okay. Like there's this one scene at the end where friggin' Darth Vader is rising like fucking Frankenstein. It's like, come on. It was shit. It was shit. Then you have the last 3 um episodes. And I liked those because I liked the story better because they were connected to the original series, episodes 4, 5, and 6. I like that. Except the guy, that Adam Driver guy, why the hell did they pick him to play? I mean, that guy looks like the least threatening person on earth. He looks, he looks like he should be standing behind a bar in Soho serving me drinks. It's like, where did they come up with him? Um, that was just crap. So I like the stories. Um, I like that they brought Luke Skywalker in toward the end and all that. It was good, but they could have picked someone better than Adam Driver. I just thought that he was poop. Okay, I just did not like him. I think that's his name, Adam Driver. I could be totally wrong. It's like this guy's so insignificant, and that's one thing for maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know. Being older, I think since the mid 2000s, movies have become shittier. Like there's no character development. There is no like real script. It's just kind of action, boom, explosions, crap like this. That's what a lot of this is. Um, the only movie that I can say that I have watched in the last, I mean, I'd have to go through some. The only movie that I would say that I have watched in the last since before COVID, 2019, so the last 5 years, is a movie called Ford versus Ferrari. Okay, as Christian Bale and Matt Damon in it. A few years before that, I don't know. I guess it would have been a few years before that. The Big Short. That is a movie that I liked also. Um, but yeah, I mean, and this is one thing I had thought about doing is I had thought about doing a video about the most patriotic American movies. That if you want to immigrate to the United States and learn about, if you want to learn about like American culture and history or something like that, you should watch these certain movies. I hate to tell most of you this, but usually the Russians are the baddies in those movies, right? So a lot of you are from Russia, and you just got to know at that time, that's just how it was. My favorite movie of all time um, is The Right Stuff, and that was made in 1984. And it's about the Apollo or the Mercury space program here in the United States. So The Right Stuff is by far my favorite movie. And then I would say my second favorite movie, which I think was made like 2 years previously, is the movie Gandhi. Okay, Ben Kingsley plays Gandhi, and I love that movie. It's a long movie, but you can see how I'm really rooted in historical movies. So, yeah. But as far as my favorite gangster movie, uh, beyond beyond anything, it's Goodfellas, right? I love that movie. I like Casino. There are some other Martin Scorsese movies I like as well. I think he's really good. Quentin Tarantino, I've never been a fan of his. So I do like Reservoir Dogs. That movie is funny. That movie is actually funny, but I don't really like his other, like the Kill Bill stuff and all that. I think those are stupid. I don't like them at all. But people do, and I do think when it comes to Quentin Tarantino and others, there are people who like their movies. And this kind of goes with lingua marina and the English thing. There are people who like their things because they think they have to like their things. There are people who like their movies or like their channels because they think they have to like their channels. They have to be in with some sort of group, and therefore they do that. And I think that's just that that's dumb. And that's one thing. That's another thing about the United States that you need to be aware of if you come here is we are very opinionated. I think there's this belief that, oh, don't say this to an American. You wouldn't say this to an American because they're really nice and stuff like that, and they won't tell you exactly. Trust me, you go to Chicago, you go to New York, you go to Cleveland, you go to Philly, you go to DC. We're going to tell you exactly how it is. So maybe in the South where they'll sugarcoat stuff and then like lie to you. And I can say that because half of my family is from the South. All right. I have not seen The Irishman, but I don't. So I watched like the first, and this doesn't give it. I know it's not good. Um, I've only seen like the first 20 minutes of it, and it was really boring to me. I just didn't really like it. So I'm gonna give it another go. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, most of the time now I watch documentaries on Netflix. The only well, okay, there are two fiction, I guess, like series that I watch. So if you have Netflix, Lupin, the French Netflix series, love that. I absolutely friggin' love it. And then and these are movies that started in 2000 and have worked up till now. Are the Bourne series, which is weird because I just sat there and said I don't like scripts that have um like bad scripts or whatever. Like the Bourne series almost has no script, but they're able to tell a story without having to say a lot of words, which tells me a lot about that. Yeah, so I mean, the only thing with The Irishman is I just found it boring at first. It's not I know I need to give it a chance. I know that I do need to give it a chance, and that's going to be the goal in the future. Because I only have Netflix. I only buy Netflix when a new season of what I want to watch comes on. So Lupin just came out, and I bought it for that. And then once I binged watched the series, I then canceled it. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to watch it anymore. Um, so yeah, let me go ahead and go through some of the comments. I really haven't been going. Um, so I I don't know what sex. Okay, I don't even want to know what that's about. Anyway, I'm just gonna breeze through some of these. I try to keep the off topic stuff about off topic, so I will get into some English. I see Andrew said hi. So Andrew, hey Andrew, what's up? Um, so yeah, the only thing I want to say with English though are some of the videos I'm gonna have coming out. So like I said, I haven't been making many videos because honestly, to tell you the truth, I'm not a big fan of making YouTube videos. I just don't like it. If I could spend all day teaching, I would just spend all day teaching. That's it. Okay. I like these because they're impromptu. They're just immediately done. I can just do them right away. I like doing the podcast, but it's like doing a video. It's just what would I rather do? A video or just sit and watch, Netflix for the next hour? I'd rather sit and watch Netflix. Um, sorry, but that's the truth. I mean, I again, I don't sugarcoat anything. Um, but I am going to be talking about kind of more on the learning point when it comes to learning a language. So I'm going to be talking about italki and why I think italki can be for English learners a bad platform because italki is a platform where there are two flaws with it. One, they have people on there who claim that they're a professional teacher. Now, in order to be a professional teacher, you have to show that you have some sort of credentials. And you actually have to upload those credentials to italki. And italki says that like this person's credentials have been uploaded. Okay. There are a lot of people who are professional teachers on italki who do not have or professional teachers on italki that have no experience, no teaching experience whatsoever. And I heard this problem with a number of my students, which, by the way, if you want to be one, go to davesenglish.com. One thing that I've noticed, and I've heard multiple students say this about teachers that they have had, and it's interesting because it's always about the same subject. It's always about the same thing, which is that the teacher that they have cannot explain what present perfect or present perfect continuous is and when we use it. Like these students pay a lot of money for these other teachers, and when they ask the teacher, "Oh, well, why would you use the present perfect over something else?" They basically say, "Oh, well, I don't know. That's just the way it is." I could never do that. I would have to explain why we might use present perfect. Like, sit there and basically say, it could be for something that started in the past that continues now. It could be for something that is true now but has the opportunity to change, especially if it's negative. I haven't been to France. Therefore, we use haven't been because you haven't been, but the chance of going to France can change. You can say, I haven't been to the moon. Now, your likelihood of going to the moon in your lifetime is probably very, very small, but the possibility could be there. So this is the reason why we can use perfect tense. I haven't been to the moon. We wouldn't say I don't go to the moon because that would indicate that you don't do something that happens on a with some sort of frequency. So I would explain, and I have the documents and everything that shows students what to do. But the fact that these teachers on italki cannot even explain what perfect tense is just, I mean, what happens when they get into gerunds and infinitives and when to use which? What happens when they get into relative clauses or when they talk about passive form? I mean, if you don't even know what these other things are, then if you don't know what perfect is, how can you explain anything? Which, by the way, there might be a reason for that. And let me explain how this is. A lot of my students have asked me, and I might make a video about this if my ass ever gets to making a video again. Um, a lot of people ask me, Dave, how do you learn grammar in school? We don't. Whenever we take an English course, it's just basically saying, okay, here's a book, read the book, now do a book report. Okay, here's the next book, read the book, now do a book report. No one, if you ask the average American, ask them, hey, what is present perfect continuous? No one will know. 2% of the people might know. That's probably because they took a literature course in English at their university. Okay, we do not learn grammar at all in schools here in the United States. Zero, none. Well, I take that back. We might learn what a noun, a verb, and an adjective and an adverb is. That's it. You might learn what a preposition is. Maybe. Chances are you're probably not. And that's how teaching is in the United States. We don't learn grammar. So a lot of people I know who go to school or went to school, I guess I should say, in Russia or some others, they go, oh, when we were in class, we learned a lot about grammar. We didn't. We didn't learn fuck all about grammar. Like not a damn thing. So keep that in mind. So maybe this person couldn't explain it because they weren't taught it, but it's still your job, right? It's still your job to actually know this. If somebody's paying you to have that knowledge, okay, I've played video games my entire life on my computer. Doesn't mean I'm a computer programmer. Okay, so this is absolutely crazy, kind of how this works. But that's the first thing on italki. There are a lot of teachers who say they have qualifications, but there's no proof of it. Like they just tell italki they're a teacher, and even though italki says you need to upload documents, they don't, because you can see if you go look at the profiles of a number of professional teachers, they'll have the documents that are uploaded. The second thing, and this one I think is a little bit more I don't want to say necessarily sinister, but I will say dishonest, is that there are a lot of people on italki who say that they're native English speakers, but they're not. Now, before we get into it, hold on, I'm gonna drink some water. Okay, talking straight for 50 minutes get you it you get a little parched from doing that. Um, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so the native English speakers. Now, before we get into it, as I have mentioned in a number of videos, whether a teacher is a native English speaker or not, in certain circumstances, it does not matter. And I want to always encourage people who are non-native speakers to teach. If they know how to teach, that's the important thing. And that's important. But if you are a student and you go onto italki and you are looking for a native, a native speaker, then that's what you should be provided with. So, for example, if I go and I buy a car and I say, yes, I want the 2024 Mustang in blue, and then I get the 2024 Challenger in red, well, yes, I still technically got a sports car, but I did not get the sports car that I wanted. So it's important to make sure that it's factual. And I see a lot of people who are on italki who say that they're native speakers of English, and they are not. They absolutely are not native speakers of English. Why do I criticize Lingua Marina? Because she teaches, this goes back to what I just said a second ago. I don't mind if you're a non-native speaker as a teacher, but do it correctly. It's that do it correctly part she don't have down quite right. Anyway, so when you have these native speakers, let's say you're an A1 or an A2 level. The taxes aren't higher on a red car, but the insurance might be. Okay. Well, the cost might be, who knows? But let me, I digressed into that little, uh, down that little creek there. Okay. So when it comes to non-native speakers, let's say you're A1 or A2, and your experience with a language, any language, is just not that great. It's kind of, you really don't know if the person's a non-native speaker or not. You hear that they speak English well, they speak it correctly, they speak it fluently even, right? But you can't tell if they're a native speaker or not. Your ear isn't tuned in to the sound. So this is why, let's say, somebody might listen to somebody like Lingua Marina and then listen to me and think that we sound the same, where Lingua Marina sounds Russian. The Veronica Marx one, she definitely sounds Russian. But if they said that they were a native speaker and they were on italki and you're an A1 or A2 student and you listen to that person, you might think that they are, but yet they're not. And I want to say that one important thing about being a native speaker of English is that it doesn't just include the level. Now, this is one big problem when it comes to English, I believe, or any language learning, is that people automatically equate native to C2. That's not how it works. There are a lot of, and I've put videos on here. That one guy talking about the bowl of brains, right? He is definitely not a C2 speaker. And somebody says, oh no, he's just saying it a different way. No, he's fucking stupid and he speaks like a moron. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just what it is. You might want to look for some type of, bigger picture of it, but no, he's just a fucking idiot. Anyway, that person is a native English speaker, but not a C2 speaker. On the other hand, you can have somebody who is a university professor that speaks English perfectly as a university professor, but they're not a native speaker. And a lot of this has to do, and the reason why I'm making my video about shit is that it has to do with cultural understanding, cultural feeling, cultural differences. So a lot of people say, Dave, you use a lot of fucking shit in your videos and all, and I do. I mean, I've dropped a number of F bombs and shit throughout this video already, but here's the thing. That's how we are in the United States. There isn't this formality informality thing. So let's talk about the workplace. A lot of people think that in the United States you have a formal workplace and an informal workplace. Watch The Office. The reason why shows like The Office and Parks and Recreation resonate so much with Americans is because this is how the workplace usually is. Maybe not as bonkers as they have it in those shows, but that's just how it is. So like I'll have a book here, for example, Market Leader, which is an English book about you know business. You see pictures like this in here, and I'm like, that picture was taken in Europe. There's no way in hell that picture with everyone looking so formal and serious was taken in the United States. Just no way in hell that it was taken in the United States. And so there is this formality issue that people believe when they learn English. Oh, I need to learn formal English. Um, yeah, so you don't need to. People in the workplace, and I've worked for an insurance company. I've worked, like I said, in politics for many years. I've worked in state capitals, and I've worked in Washington D.C. I've worked in Salt Lake City. I've worked in Tallahassee, Florida. So I've worked in state capitals. Uh, we're dropping fucks and shits all the time. Okay, that's just how it is. I mean, as a matter of fact, let's see if I have it here. Let's see if I have this list because it kind of I think will hammer the point home. Ah, I wish I would have had it. I didn't know I would be talking about this today. Um, yeah, I'll bring it up in another one. But anyways, there is this list about, you know, things you shouldn't fucking do. One, don't be fucking lazy. Two, make sure you fucking do this. Three, who gave that to me? My mother. Okay, I talk to my mom and dad and all the time. We're dropping F bombs and S bombs and all that all the time. It's just kind of how it is. There isn't this, you need to keep these people this way and these people this way. It's just not like that. Okay. So I would say that a lot of people, when learning English, take things a little bit too literally and serious. And that's one of the reasons why I have this podcast and the channel in general is that you don't need to have a stick up your ass when you speak English. Okay. You should just roll off the tongue. And how I speak to you, honestly, how I speak to you is probably how I speak to like everyone. Okay. Or a lot of people that I know that I actually interact with. And you kind of have to get the feeling about your workplace. So yeah. But anyways, I wanted to talk about before we go. Just wanted to get if you want to put some comments in the chat about POS English because I don't think that I've done a video a podcast since I did that video about POS's English, just absolutely ripping off lingua marinas. So before you ask, I have scoured, I've just searched the entire internet to find a list of these certain, was it phrasal verbs or idioms? It was a video about idioms. Trying to find a list online where these idioms appeared in this order or just on this sheet. The only thing I could find online was Lingua Marina's video. I mean, that granted, he gave his own explanations. And what's funny about this is that the way he explained it was way more accurate than the way she explained it. The way she explained it was like wrong. And I didn't put that in the video because that wasn't really what the video was about. It was just be like, hey, you lazy sack of crap, do your own work. Don't sit there and take you really couldn't come up with your own idioms. And by the way, this was another thing I have to talk about when talking about taking English literally. When I said you need to come up with your own idioms, that doesn't mean invent your own idioms. That means come up with a new list. And people are like, well, how is he supposed to invent his own idioms? I'm like, that's not it, you fucks. So anyway, but but yeah, I mean, I just could not believe um that this guy just absolutely um just totally did it. Yeah, Lingua Marina got some actually wrong. Like she in her list, she actually said some that were incorrect, and POS English actually gave the correct meaning of it. Because that's what Lingua Marina does. She always just gives you the wrong information because she's not that good at what she does. Okay. I mean, her level of English, and people do talk about her level of English. Uh, Here in the United States, as far as non-native speakers, her level of English is not remarkable. It's very unremarkable. There are many people in the United States who are non-native speakers who speak at the level that she does. And as a matter of fact, many, many more that speak at a much higher level than she does. Now, with POS English, I don't know. Okay, he sounds weird. Like the way he talks like this sounds really weird. I mean, like, and he's given advice about how to sound like a Native American. No, I don't have the clip that I could put up right now. I wish I did. But he was more accurate than, I mean, so his pronunciation is horrible. His intonation is really bad. I mean, like his intonation is just unbelievably bad. Okay. But Lingua Marina just will say the wrong word. That's it. And so, yeah. I mean, and I'm glad to see some people now I have criticized and I have criticized Kevin and Lisa. And I still stick by that criticism of them being toxic because I think they're only focusing on the negative and they should have a lot more about positives. It just seems like Lingua Marina is their target. And there's a point where I don't mind that. And that's why I said, are they toxic? I think they're do I think they're doing the right thing. They just got to figure out a different way to go about it. That's the only thing. And honestly, when it comes to their criticism of Lingua Marina, I think it's kind of a double standard because first of all, they have kind of gone back on what they said. They said, "Oh, we only criticize her with her lessons." But if you go back and you listen to when they criticize her, yes, it is during one of her lessons, but it's not what she's teaching at that time. So she might forget an article and say, okay, today we are going to talk about car or something, or something like that. Um, it's not part of the lesson. It's just she's building up or saying something before she gets to it. So they say they criticize what she teaches, but I've seen them do it in many situations where they just look for every little mistake. Now, that being said, Kevin and Lisa also here's another thing you need to listen how I'm speaking, right? I do not talk like this when I talk to average people. I do not talk very slow and very clear like this and very monotone because we don't fucking talk like that. That's one of the problems I have with Kevin and Lisa is yes, they don't make mistakes because they speak very, very unnaturally slow and clear. That the average person wouldn't talk like that. And so yes, they kind of they're able to go and kind of hide any mistakes because they do it very slow, and I'm sure they record it time and time again. At least Lingua Marina says what she says at at least she says it at a speed and at a rate that a normal person would speak. Whereas Kevin and Lisa, they talk like this, and it does not sound right. Now, I did have a video in which I criticized them previously, and I'm going to explain why I removed that video because the English language and hold on, there we go. The English language and the English language is discovered. Okay, somebody didn't just invent the English language one day. And you might have seen this, me talk about this in my interview with Inna in English, is that the language is discovered. I mean, technically, it was discovered in 1586 when somebody wrote a book about the patterns of English. Okay, it wasn't invented. English wasn't invented. Somebody didn't one day say, hey, this is the English language. These are the rules. Now do the rules. Okay, do the language, speak the language with these rules. No, the language had been going for many, many years, and people discovered certain things in the language. Now, the reason why I removed that video is that I said that need to and have to are modal verbs. And a lot of people are saying, no, they're not. But I was very insistent on saying that, yes, it was. But here's the problem. This is something that's very subjective. So the concept of a modal verb itself was first mentioned in any context in the 1860s, but wasn't like solidified as an actual grammatical concept in English in academia until 1930. So yes, the idea of a modal verb has been around then less than 100 years. And what happened was that there was a basic explanation of what a modal verb was. And basically it's a verb that then modifies another verb to indicate certain things. And with that being the case, if you look at all the dictionaries, they'll all have a different list of modal verbs because it's very subjective as to what is or isn't a modal verb. You have one list that has, I think it's like 8 modal verbs on it. Then you'll see another list that had, I think it was around like 40 that were considered modal verbs because the definition of what somebody said back in 1930 became the definition that everyone says, well, any of these types of words can mean this certain thing. But see, the problem I had with the video, and the reason why I removed it was because I was wrong. Because I was now, were the people who were criticizing me, were they wrong? Yes. Because English is and language learning in general is very subjective. It was wrong for me to definitively say that need to is a modal verb. It's also very wrong for them to definitively say that need to is not a modal verb. Because if you look at the definition of modal verbs, it can actually fall into that definition as well. So that's the reason why I removed the video. Had I thought about re-uploading it, putting that caveat in there about this? Yes, because they still made a lot of mistakes in their video. So Kevin and Lisa do make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Okay, I was in the process of learning a new language that I kind of slowed down on right now, but I might pick it back up. Which was that this person said no one's ever spoken their language 100% correct. Okay, and that's how it's going to be. And the problem I have with a lot of these videos, the ones that I criticize are mostly videos making a claim that you can sound like this, or this is how the word should be, that they make a claim and then they fuck up their claim. Okay. My belief is that there shouldn't be a claim. Now, when it comes to mistakes, there are commonly accepted mistakes, and then there are mistakes that are, and I made a video recently about the English mistakes that native English speakers make, right? So, and these are commonly accepted. But if I went in, um, if I said, for example, I too forego like want now to see, therefore here, okay, I used all words in English, pronounced them perfectly, but that sentence is gibberish. Okay, that's not correct English. Whatever the hell I was saying is not correct English. But I mean, that's an extreme example. But for example, if you say, I am knowing him, know a verb that we can't put in continuous form, I know him is correct. That's a grammatical mistake. And it's an agreed upon mistake. And I think this is where it is. And this is where Noam Chomsky is really interesting, because a lot of people in his way of thinking when it comes to a language say that what the correct language is based on what native speakers consider understandable and acceptable. And that to me is where it really comes. So if someone who speaks Russian came up to me and say, "Hi, I'm looking for a job," that for the most part would be considered, well, not for the most part, completely incorrect in the mind and the ears and the sound, everything for a native English speaker. It would be incorrect. I am looking for a job would be deemed incorrect. But as I mentioned in that other one, say, yeah, there's a lot of problems here. That's grammatically incorrect. But a lot of native speakers might just gloss over that and say, I didn't even notice it. So there are things that when omitted or added, they sound wrong. So for example, putting an article before a city name. I'm going to the Moscow, or I'm going to the Sochi. Okay. This is incorrect. The only city that I can think of right off the bat that has the definite article in front of it is The Hague, Den Haag. And that's just because it's the official name of the city. No other city has that. The only time you would put the in front of a city name is if that city name is then being used as an adjective to describe something else. Okay. So, for example, the Chicago Art Museum. That's when we would do that. I think that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about today. The main thing was to talk about that John Gotti story. So if you're just coming in, you can go back and listen to that. Let me go through. Oh yeah, and I'm saying a lot. Guess what? We do that in English. Somebody was getting on my ass about that, and it was just like, yeah, I say so therefore just watch a lot of interviews. That's all I have to say. Okay. Let's see. So, see, I will mention something about POS English. And this is what I don't get. And I'm going to say the same thing about Rachel's English as well. If you all know Rachel's English, is that, okay, I see a lot of people are just kind of talking to one another, stuff like that. The one thing about Rachel's English as well, these channels, like if you look at POC's English channel when it first started, it was quirky, it was kind of stupid and childish, but he actually had some good and accurate advice. As he has built his channel more and more and it has grown, it has gotten worse and worse and worse. Rachel's English hasn't gone that route, but to me, it's kind of gone. Rachel's English was and still is a good resource for pronunciation. I think she has a good resource. Not the best, but really, really good. Not 100%, but 90%. But as her channel became more and more popular, instead of providing the information that helps people speak English, she started following the algorithm and all of a sudden started making videos about don't say this, don't say that, don't do this, don't do that, don't, if you want to sound like a native English speaker. She started following the lingua marina bullshit train, right? But at least with her, she has street cred because you know she is from the United States. But she has come to this point of chasing the algorithm, which I think has made her content less. Now, when it comes to pronunciation, you have Hadar's English. And I don't want to say this, but I fuck it, I'll say it. Um her pronunciation channel is really good. I like what she has to say. And somebody wrote this to me a few days ago. And what's weird is even though this person, I don't know if it's a she or here, I don't know why I said she, probably because I'm talking about Hadar. Even though they wrote this to me a few days ago, it's something that I had thought about myself, which was Hadar's English or American pronunciation is good, almost too good. And one thing I would like to see is a video of hers. Maybe she has it back in the past where she did not have this accent because she is from Israel. And a lot of people from Israel have American roots. A lot of people. As a matter of fact, if you're watching the news right now and you hear stuff from people from the IDF or something, a lot of them will be indistinguishable from an American because they had an American education or their family is from the United States or they themselves grew up in the United States. So the question I have is if Hadar is actually a native speaker of English. I don't know. I'm not saying that she is. I'm just saying that her English is pretty damn good. I mean, her pronunciation is pretty damn good. But of course, people can do that. People can adapt. I mean, as much as people who are my followers probably uh, don't don't follow them at all, is that who's Lingua Marina's sidekick? What the hell is his name? Venya Pak has good accent, right? If he came up to me and started saying something without using incorrect grammar, he is one of the only ones that I think can fool people with saying that he is a native speaker. And so, I know a lot of people are like, oh, this is, the shit on Lingua Marina channel, which to a certain extent, I guess it has become that. But Venya Pat, he speaks, his accent is flawless. His accent is absolutely flawless. So again, give credit where credit's due. I'm not one of these people that's just like, oh, this person's a friend of Marina, so I hate them, and this one is against them. I love them. No, that's not what it is. That's not what this channel is about. It's about, shooting straight, not dealing with the bullshit and actually explaining what I think. But I do think that Rachel's English has gone down in quality. Used to be good, but now she's just chasing the algorithm. And I guess if you're on YouTube, you got to do what you got to do, maybe. And this is where I always tell people, I'm not a YouTuber. I don't have 10,000 subscribers yet. Okay. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm an English teacher that has YouTube solely for the purpose of marketing myself as an English teacher. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if somebody came up to me and said, Dave, we're going to give you your own school where we're going to fill it with students and all that, I would never make a YouTube video again the rest of my life. It's just the necessary evil of what I got to do because I am a business owner and I have to do that. But I want to make sure that students are learning English correctly. Other people like Lucy, like Lingua Marina, and other people like that, they are YouTubers. They are YouTubers first and foremost. They are not English teachers. As a matter of fact, with a lot of these, I wonder how many of them have actually been in an actual classroom or even online teaching one on one and actually teaching somebody. Because one thing that I find very interesting with a lot of these videos is that a lot of the advice that they give, I don't know why they give it. And I say that because as a teacher who actually has students that right before this lesson, right before this video, I had a lesson 15 minutes beforehand. So I had a lesson that ended, and I had 15 minutes, and I started this video. As a teacher who has taught thousands of hours of English, you notice patterns. You notice certain words that are always mispronounced. You notice words that always have some sort of problem. You notice grammatical issues as well. You notice a lot of these things. One thing that I've noticed, interestingly, and I want to find out why, but I haven't found out, is that a lot of non-native speakers, when speaking English, confuse find and found, and will use found for the present tense. This is very common regardless of where they're from. And I want to find out the reason why a lot of speakers will use found in the present tense and will always and also use it as part of the infinitive, to found. And it's really interesting that I notice it with this specific word, but it happens all the time. And I don't know why. But I do try to make my videos based on observations that I have noticed as a teacher. Whereas with Lucy, and this is the problem with a lot of these vocabulary heavy channels, is their lessons are not based, or their lessons, let me go ahead and put it that way, they're not based on observations that they make as teachers, notice the mistakes they have, and then try to explain the corrections of those mistakes. So, for example, I did my video recently about he explains me, right? And talking about how this would be incorrect, using explain incorrectly. That's because of the experience I've had with students always saying, he explained me the situation, which is incorrect. And I explain why. And other things, such as the videos that I have done about common Russian mistakes. I made these videos about the Russian mistakes because they are mistakes that I have noticed in my lessons with Russian students. Okay. So that's that. So my videos that are like that are based on observations as a teacher. But Lucy's aren't. Like she just picks a subject and says, okay, this is what we're going with. Now I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start doing more vocabulary. I mean, I'll admit it. I don't care. I'm going to start doing more vocabulary. Like I have this list. In fact, after we're done, I'm going to start making my video for my shit video. So it's about using the word shit in English. And I already have my list of what I want to do. It'll be interesting to see if you've heard any of these. So I'm just going to go through the list. What I have so far, some people have already done videos on this, but I think mine's a little bit more in depth and a little more entertaining. And also something you'll hear on a regular basis. So what I have is shit for brains, shit sandwich, shit storm, up shit creek, shitty, shit as an adjective and a noun, bullshit, horse shit, chicken shit, dog shit, ape shit, jack shit. I mentioned that earlier. So let's see. Sure as shit. And it's dark in here, so it's hard for me to see some of it. Being shit-faced. To be shit-faced. Shit end of the stick. SOL or shit out of luck. And that's what I have so far. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about in the next video. And as And a lot of people say, "Oh, you shouldn't be talking about cuss words. That's really, really bad," and all that. It's the language. It's how we speak. It's how it is. Okay, you need to be. You need if you're trying to learn a language, you need to learn every aspect of it. Doesn't mean you have to use it. You don't have to use it, but chances are, and let's take the f bomb. Fuck. Let's say somebody makes a mistake. Like they're doing some project and they made a major mistake. They could say, "Oh, I messed up really bad," or "Oh, I fucked up really bad." 9 out of 10 times, the person's going to say the latter. They're going to say, "I fucked up really bad." They're not going to say, "I messed up really bad." Okay. Most people are not going to say that. So it's important to know that this is just a part of English. This is just a part of how the language works. This is the way in which it operates. So yeah. Um and there's and I think a lot of these channels don't really do that. And I think this is where I make my channel a little bit different than others because I'm kind of the opinion that uh, yeah, I'm one of these persons that's of the opinion that language is something that's fluid and flowing. And I need to fix my camera. I don't know why the hell it's been doing that lately. There we go. I think that language is fluid and something that should be like continuously moving and flowing. And the words and the way in which we say stuff is not rigid. It is very much of a flow. Whereas I think a lot of these channels dealing with English, it's like, learn these 10 phrases, phrases that you will never say in that exact way ever. Okay. So, and then you get what's weird is you'll get these English channels that'll say this word or say this phrase or this sentence or whatever. And they'll have an extremely elementary way of saying it. And then you'll have someone like Lingua Marina or POS English say, "We don't say it like this, say it like this." And then I sit there and go, "No, we don't say it like either one of these." Okay? And that's the point. If you approach a language by just learning phrases, you're always going to be lost. Okay, it's just the fact. If you give me if you say some sort of phrase to me and I give you an answer that you don't understand because you don't understand the words that I used or grammar or whatever, then you're lost. Doesn't matter that you memorize that phrase, you don't know what the answer is. So it's important to understand that English is not just, or any language, is not just a collection of phrases to memorize so you can sound like a native speaker. It's fluid, it's flowing. You're going to experience all different types of things. All right, well, that's all I'm going to talk about today. I went kind of on a little bit of a rant in that last part, but I kind of wanted to expand the amount of time. Again, this video was originally about the Gotti family connection that I have. Me and my pal Peter from, well, no, he's dead now. He died in 2021. Or was it last year? I think it was 2021. But anyway, thank you all very much. I'm going to try to do this on a weekly basis. I'm also going to try to do it earlier in the day because I know for a lot of people, this is a little bit late in the day. So I want to try to make it earlier. But the problem is that I have students who are, need lessons. So sometimes it's not easy for me to do this at this time of the day. So yeah. So anyway, thank you all very much. I will see you. This will be a weekly thing. I do have some videos coming out. My lazy ass is just going to make them. Again, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm an English teacher. And teaching English is the most important thing. Oh, by the way, before we go, I mentioned that I'm doing a book club, which every month I will be giving a book. I'll be introducing a book to say that this is a book that I'm going to discuss in my book club a month later. So it gives you the opportunity to read it. I already have the book picked out. And so I'm going to be sending an email to the people who are subscribed to the book club in the next day or two. So if you want to do that, go down to the description of this video and sign up so that you are able to get on the email list to be part of that book club. And what it is that you will be put on the list, you will get the book, and then you will get the Zoom link for the book discussion. So the book club discussion will not be on YouTube or anything like that. It's only going to be for people who sign up for the book club through a Zoom link. And this is so other people can participate. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day wherever it is you are. And I will see you next time. Later. Bye bye.